Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, we saw that sellers were more dominant. ES failed at 2003 and pulled back to the 91 to 93 support that we had in the overnight session, where responsive buyers entered and the market basically balanced below 2000 for most of the overnight session. Looking at TF, there was a pretty decent break in that market, and that is definitely a red flag for buyers at this point. So we are going to be cautious on long setups here, because given the strong break in the Russell and has broken below its recent lows, ES could also put in a pullback, below 91.5 to 93.5 at this point. So for that reason, unless we start seeing some major buying coming into TF, we are going to be careful on buying the S&P, and we just have to be very aware of trade location. And if we are going to buy, setup has to make sense in real time. And the Russell ideally is also hitting a major support spot as ES pulls back into support. But at this point, we've already gotten a reaction at that 91 to 93. We're using 91.5 to 93.5 as the initial support zone. Open gap 93.75. So at this point, we have already seen a reaction at that zone, and the next test of it would be yet another test of the zone, which could result in a break and a move down towards 86.5 to 88.5, and potentially even lower down to 80.5 to 82.5. And if it's a strong liquidation and TF actually continues liquidating, then we'll just have to be careful. We can still get buy responses at the support zones, but we just have to be cautious on the trades that we do take on the long side, because at this point, if we continue breaking below 91.5 to 93.5, we could be looking at a short-term liquidation type scenario that can take ES down to 80.5 to 82.5. So we'll just have to gauge the market strength or weakness in real time after the open, and if the market continues to hold below 98 quarter, 2000 quarter, which is the pre-market resistance zone, then that would be an indication that sellers are still in control, and we could be looking at a test of at least 86.5 to 88.5. So keep an eye on pre-market resistance off the open. That'll give us a good idea on whether buyers are really stepping in here, and if ES continues to hold below it, then that would signal weakness, and we could quite easily test 86.5 to 88.5, and in the event of a stronger sell-off or stronger liquidation type move, even 80.5 to 82.5 is not out of the question. Above 98 quarter to 2000 quarter, in the event of a break above that zone, it would tell us that now buyers are stepping in. But then the next hurdle is 02.5 to 03.5. That's still a spot where the sellers can still enter, and it's an area we still have to watch pretty closely. But 02.5 to 03.5 is still a spot where we could see a potential failure. So a break above 98 quarter, 2000 quarter tells us that the market is not quite as weak. It doesn't mean that the market is strong, but it just tells us that perhaps the downside is limited to 91.5 to 93.5. The next inflection point is 02.5 to 03.5, and then we have resistance at 06 to 08. So if we go through the initial resistance zone, then the next spot where sellers can enter is 06 to 08, and that's a pretty high probability zone to at least get some level of rotation. Heading up there would tell us that the market is short-term strong. That's the only way it would even get to 06 to 08. But if the market's testing 06, 08, internals are not that strong, TF is also hitting resistance, then that can still be a spot where we can get some rotation, and sellers can still be active at that zone. But if this market is truly weak, then it'll hold below 98 quarter to 2000 quarter, and if it's kind of mediocre, 02.5 to 03.5 can actually still hold as resistance. So it is something we're going to have to gauge overnight. Overnight the market has been balancing in this range, so just look at the price action. If it's a short-term balance breakout from the overnight range, then just exercise some caution on the short side, because right now we're still kind of in balance over here, right? We're just balancing in a range. TF is really the only market that has gone directional on the downside, And even in that market, it hit a support zone, found buyers, and now is heading back up towards its recent balance around the 34 to 36 area. Those are the recent lows where TF can find sellers. So if TF holds below 34 to 36, then you know that sellers are still pretty dominant and pretty active overall in the market. So given the way this market is shaping up right now, with a strong down move, found buyers. So far we're kind of stuck in balance here, but we definitely want to be cautious on the long side. And at this point, if internals continue to be weak, momentum stays on the downside, then that's the area we're going to be more focused on. So, if everything continues to be weak the way it has been, then we will look for short setups, targeting the move back down towards 91.5 to 93.5 for a retest and potential for a break even below that zone. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see if the sellers can maintain control short term here, and we'll take it from there.